Thursdays in our third hour, we always start the second segment with a very simple question with our good friend and guest, Brett Dolan, who covers all Arkansas athletics, college baseball, college football, the NFL, and what have you. But the simple question always is, where in the world is Brett Dolan today? Brett, where are you?
Here in beautiful Fayetteville, Arkansas, soaking up this springtime heat while I can, and got a quick weekend trip planned out of state, and then I'll be back for gymnastics on Monday. So away we go.
All right, very good. Let's start on baseball, since I know you were in on the Zoom yesterday, and Dave spoke for about 30 minutes. You think this is going to be a team that should hopefully not fall into the offensive slumps that we saw last year? It looks like an athletic team, a fast team. I'm hoping for contact. I'm hoping for hard contact.
I'm hopeful. I'm going to have to see it, I guess, to believe it in some senses, because Dave also mentioned in that press conference, sometimes the way you win in the SEC is you have to hit the ball over the fence. And it seems good in theory that you've got to have more high average hitters and players that can run. The one thing, though, Phil, that I'll be curious to see how it plays out, and I think Dave mentioned this, there's not a ton of games right out of the gates that you can kind of experiment with, but in the last decade, it doesn't matter if it's Major League Baseball or college baseball or whatnot, there's a great appreciation for your 27 outs, and that means you don't give them away bunting and you don't give them away on the bases. So if you're able to run and have success, that's one thing. If you're getting guys thrown out, does that end that experiment? Do you keep running? Do you risk making outs on the bases and eliminating your 27? I don't know. I guess we're going to find out together what that looks like.
You know, and one thing that I did ask him about, and I do feel like it may be kind of like we haven't even been talking about it too much, because there's so much focus on how can this team do offensively, and the pitching staff is going to be really good. But I think a real linchpin to what this team could be is Ryder Helfrich, the catcher, because he's going to have such an impact on both aspects of this. And I think Helfrich could end up being one of the most dynamic players in the country. Because he's amazingly athletic. I think he's fast for a catcher. He's got pop, and he knows what he's doing behind the plate, and he learned how to call a game in college last year, which not a lot of college catchers even get a chance to do, never mind being a freshman. And, yeah, there's a lot of talent to work with on that staff. But you look at all the good Arkansas teams, they have a catcher that helps control the pitching staff and that staff believes in. And I think one of the biggest jumps to see this next year isn't necessarily Ryder's hitting, it's how he catches.
Well, I do think Helfrich's going to be a key piece, and I think, in a sense, Phil, he's probably already made that jump offensively last year in the Cape. And I think he tied for the league lead in home runs. Vahiva might have been in that, Petrie from South Carolina. And you're talking about a guy who didn't play much as a freshman and had a little struggle here and there and did have a couple of bombs, but then goes to the Cape against top competition, swinging wood, playing on a regular basis, and had a great summer. So I think that's going to carry over, and I'm with you. I think you make that jump between a freshman year to a sophomore year, but, you know, Dave teased it. You know, they didn't think they were going to get him at one point, and then, you know, he didn't play a lot and didn't play well at times last year, and yet he went off and showed his ability against the top competition in the country during the summer.
Hey, before I ask you about Ohio State, Notre Dame, you got to see Quinn Ewers live, and it's he's declared for the NFL draft. Where do you kind of place him? Do you think he's a first rounder? Do you think it maybe is a Carson Beck deal where he's going to say he's entering the draft? Or even Michael Penix, Cam Ward last year did that from Washington State. He said he was going to enter the draft and then ended up going with another team. But, you know, Carson Beck's going to make $4 million a year. I would think Quinn Ewers could make $4 million. You know, there's a lot of teams out there that would want a Quinn Ewers. Do you think he goes to the NFL draft? What are your kind of thoughts on Quinn Ewers?
I think he's going that, and my Texas people have been telling me for months, because I've asked. I know you brought it up, and I've been curious, and I'm like, is he going? And they've consistently said from the beginning of the year, well, you know, he's kind of feeling like this is the end of the run college-wise. He's going to go take his wares to the NFL. Now, you brought up the money, and, you know, there was that $6 million figure floated. That came from one school, and we can all figure out who it is. They're still playing, and they're going to lose a transfer quarterback, and they have the money to spend it. But you know, I don't blame the kid if he thinks it's time for him just to see what he can do in the NFL. The question is he a third or a fourth round pick? I mean, he's probably better than Carson Beck right now, but he's not going to be at the top of that scale. So so many players are coming back for fifth and sixth years and whatever and taking the money because they know they can get it here and waiting for the NFL. Ewers is one of the few, I guess, who's saying, you know what, I've had my time in college. It's a chance to go see what it looks like at the next level and kind of bet on yourself a little bit. So I don't mind him doing that. I'd rather him, jump and go rather than be on another team, his third team in his college football journey.
And maybe that's the way he viewed it, too. Maybe it's like the idea of it's a great time to be a college athlete. You can make some money and all of that. That doesn't always mean that guys want to stay and do them. I want to start the next phase of life. And look, when you're someone that's been as highly recruited as Quinn Ewers and in such a spotlight because of the programs he's played for and the success that he's enjoyed, you want to see what you can do at that next level. And I think now's the right time. I don't know if he'd get much better in college because he looked really good. I wonder about the arm strength sometimes, but look, I think he's got accuracy and he can move a little bit and feels maybe. You think now is the right time?
I don't know if it is or not, but if you feel like, hey, I'm a Longhorn, I'm not a Notre Dame Fighting Irish player. I'm going to get an opportunity to at least be on a roster. I'm going to go through some preseason games. I'm going to show off what I can do. Then again, he's kind of betting on himself. I think he made some big time plays and big time throws down the stretch. There are moments where you look at him and you're thinking, I don't get it. Why isn't he better? And so on and so forth. But it's not an overwhelming quarterback class this year or next year in the NFL. So maybe he gets an opportunity and maybe he gets a chance. And I think the one thing, I don't mind when people are done with college and ready to go to the NFL. I feel like we have too many people on too many stops already in our college game where it gets confusing. He's going to go out as a Longhorn. He's going to go out as somebody who played in the college football playoffs, and he'll take his chances at getting some playing time at the next level.
Brett, give me a key for both these teams. Give me a reason how Notre Dame beats Ohio State, if you have one, and then what does Ohio State have to do? Is it just not turn the ball over? Give me a reason why both of these teams could win this national championship game.
I think one way Notre Dame would win is if Ohio State goes through these stretches, and they had a little bit of that against Texas in the Cotton Bowl, where it felt like they were unenthused, and it was penalties, and it was stupid holding penalties and personal fouls that killed drives and took away a lot of momentum. If Ohio State comes out with a little sluggishness, that allows Notre Dame to maybe control the tempo with a running game and whatnot. I would also say if Notre Dame is to win, they're going to have to do a really good job on Ohio State's two receivers. They play a lot of man coverage, which I don't know if they can do against that duo, but they do get a lot of picks, and Howard will throw one every once in a while. So if they can get Ohio State not playing well, Howard throws a couple of picks, that's their recipe. I would say for Ohio State, on the other end, Caleb Downs is going to be a big guy defensively, kind of a safety/linebacker. If he's making a lot of plays, if he's frustrating Jeremiah Love and also frustrating Riley Leonard and lets that offense figure it out and they get time to get their weapons involved, then I think the Buckeyes have a chance to win by double figures and finish off what will be a crazy run. You think about this, guys, in college football, we talked about what the playoff would mean. 4 teams that would not have been in, and Ohio State was one of those, and will it diminish some of the rivalries in regular season games? In the old world, they would have had to sit on that loss to Michigan. Michigan would have bragging rights, and here we are talking about the team having a chance to win a championship.
Well, I mean, it's good. It's good for college football. It's good for fans. One loss doesn't end your season. I don't have a problem with 12 teams getting in and opening up making it a real tournament. I think this has been a good year for college football. If it feels a little bit janky because of the way the teams got to bye, you can fix that thing. And I don't know if you need to expand the tournament any more than it is, but it sounds like they're going to. I mean, I think this has been a good thing for college football.
It's been fun. I mean, we've seen games on campus. We've seen the 11 games. It's hard to believe the FCS has 24 teams, and they've been done for over a week. And Major College Football has 12, and we're still going. It feels like this playoff alone has been a month plus, because I guess it has been in some senses. I think the one thing we're going to get to at the end, we've had a lot of blowouts, and we've kind of overlooked that because it's new and it's fun. The matchups and the seedings will probably be changed. I still think at the end, you don't have that many teams that are capable of winning a national championship. It was fun to have Boise in there and SMU and whatnot. Those teams were not winning a championship, and we're down to 4 blue bloods, and now we're down to the 2 bluest of blue bloods who are spending money like there's no tomorrow at Ohio State. Notre Dame's making a lot of money. I still don't know if the little guy is going to be a part of this when you get deep, but we have had fun, I think, just kind of watching it play out and see what it's all about, something we've never had before.
Brett, I love these quarterback matchups in the NFL playoffs. I think back to the Colts and the Patriots a couple times where they met. Even Big Ben and the Steelers get into that unit. And the Chargers with Phillip Rivers never getting over the hump. But those quarterback matchups in the playoffs are just epic. This Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson matchup, and I know it's a team game, but I'm just, it feels like it's much-watched TV. What do you got in this one? Who do you see coming out on top?
Ooh, I got to see the Ravens in person on Christmas Day in Houston, and Lamar was so good, and the Ravens were so good. At the time, I kind of left thinking, is Allen really better than Lamar Jackson as far as an MVP? He probably is. I think it's a great matchup, and I think the one question mark for Lamar continues to be his postseason play and having a bad game at the wrong time. But the Bills are trying to get over the hump, too, in some senses. They're trying to get a rematch with Kansas City and an opportunity to take down the Chiefs to get to a Super Bowl. I would probably lean Buffalo, but I know I'm going to be glued to the TV because I really want to see these guys kind of battle it out and play for supremacy. It's almost weird because it feels like it could be an AFC championship game, but it clearly isn't. But it is for that right to play Kansas City. But I would probably lean Buffalo just a bit, but Lamar I still think is the most exciting player, but Allen probably a little better overall with consistency and certainly in the postseason.
So you obviously know that Uecker passed away at age 90 earlier today, and I think of someone that you've worked with, and I think we've talked about on the show before as well, Milo Hamilton, the longtime voice of the Brewers, or the longtime voice of the Astros. I can't think, though, of two more different broadcasters than those two. It's not like Milo didn't have a sense of humor. He had the briefcase and he had all of those copious notes. He did that kind of stuff before a lot of others did. And Uecker, as good as he was like a stand-up comic on the radio. Those were, to me, kind of the two extremes.
They were extremes. They were fun because I got to be a part of a lot of series for a number of years where they would be in the same building and next door in booths, and they had a good back and forth. I think Uecker might have worked a little bit with Milo with Atlanta, but it was fun because they were two big personalities, and it was back to the era where it wasn't just 5 or 6 broadcasters for every team. They had the undisputed voice of the team, and Uecker was that for the Brewers for so many years, and Milo was for a couple of different teams, finishing off in Houston, but I know I always enjoyed my time, Phil, being around Uecker. He was kind of one of a kind. He had a great personality. He brought laughter. He brought fun to the ballpark almost every day. And my goodness, he kept going until I think he's 90 when he passed. So that's an amazing run and a guy who's really synonymous with a franchise. And other than the Dodgers and Scully, I'm not sure there have been many broadcasters that have been so woven into a fabric and so synonymous with the team as Uecker in Milwaukee.
But I also feel, Brett, like I listened to him this last year at the age of 89, and I listened to Milo some, and I listened to Sterling and the guys that have been around, and Denny Matthews, and as you get older, you lose some of the things that make you who you were. And I don't feel like Uecker really lost much off his fastball. He was going to be coming back for another year at age 90, and I'm not saying he was as good as he was in 72, but at 89 years old, the guy could still call a game and do it accurately and capture the emotion of the moment and the emotion of the crowd and still have a great sense of humor. I was amazed by how good he was at that advanced age.
I'll be honest with you. Had he lived to 95, he might have kept calling games till he was 95. It was so important to him. The one thing he did that I think sometimes the older broadcasters get away from is he was in the clubhouse on a daily basis. He was considered part of the team. They would hold off celebrations for postseason until he could get down and be a part of it and spray the champagne. So he was around the players. He was around the staff, which I think gave him great access to talk about the team. He was always funny. He had that comedic instinct that few have. And I would agree. I think he kept broadcasting at a very high level until the very end.
BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, and college basketball to NHL and UFC. Head to BetOnline today and don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here.